So we literally flew our plane in there where, there are a bunch of different enthusiasts and stuff that fly in from all across the country. It's this teeny tiny little airport that for this one weekend becomes the busiest airport in the world, even busier than Hartsfield Jackson, which is really, really cool to see. And then
Make sure
we
you say that on the pod.
Well, we're recording, so
this is the pod. This is the pod.
I don't know where exactly this is gonna go because we haven't officially, started to introduce the shit. But I started recording because
it's cool. I'll save that. I'll save it. Because there's more to discuss. There's more to talk about.
Yeah. Also, real quick. I'm not. I can put this. I might put this on the pod or maybe cut it out. But real quick, man, Herschel, you remember that one time we went to that air show in Decatur?
Yes, and somebody crashed.
Yeah, dude. We saw the flame.
Somebody crashed at the run. I don't want to tell. I'm gonna get to the story, bro. Spoiler alert.
We have a very special guest in the building, though.
Yes.
Very special guest.
Oh,
yes.
We got H5 to the
What's good? What do you got to say?
And mommy in the building, Taylor.
Hello.
H5, what's up, man?
Nothing. That's all you got. Okay.
He says few words, but he shakes.
Yeah, no, he's making a face that just says like a lot, though. It's like very profound. Like, wow, he's a deep thinker.
Where's my PlayStation 5? I'm number 5. What's good?
Yeah, they say you want your own PS5. Is that what you need, son? Okay.
Tell Taylor I said what's up. And congratulations.
Hey,
Congrats to all of us once again. Appreciate you coming in to say hello on the podcast. Do you have anything you want to show right now, son? Anything you're selling? You got a lemonade stand. We just opened up a 529 for you. What other things?
Oh, let's go.
These are important conversations we're going to get into on this podcast. So,
how's that diaper, H5?
Your Uncle Will said, how's that diaper?
You got
H5 ain't worried about no diapers, man. H4 gonna take care of it.
It's really not.
Yo, let me tell you, man, we've been in a phase with Willow where these diapers have been real lately. I'm sorry. She probably going to be like, you putting all my business out there later, when she's old enough to hear this. But, man, I'm talking these diapers.
See, bro, she's about to come after you.
Yeah, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you, girl.
Bro, I think that's a great place to start.
Let's go ahead and get it started. We already been talking a little shit.
You heard it here first. We finally made it. Welcome to RTBTH. Real talk beyond the headlines. It's about to get real. RTBTH, 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 RTBTH. 5 letters, 5 words.
Spell it out.
5 letters, 5 words.
Spell it out.
5 letters, 5 words.
Spell it out.
Good talk beyond the headlines.
Welcome back to the podcast. This is hashtag RTBTH, real talk beyond the headlines. Hopping back on the mic, man, we got some realness to talk about today. Podcast super co-host Herschel with us.
Yes,
returning guest, the basketball expert, Will B.
Hey, thanks for having me back, fellas.
Yeah, man, we have
a bit of a different role this time, I guess.
Hey, we can definitely get into some basketball towards the end, but different role. The lineage of us three on the podcast is growing, so I'm glad that we can, link up and have a chat. But first I want to say, in the history of RTBTH, we've had a lot of monikers, and I have a new one that I'm going to unveil right now. But let me first go back into the history a little bit. All right, so we have the basketball expert, Will. We had the basketball prince who hopped on the pod for a few episodes at one point. And, we have the football expert, which was in Herschel's wedding, Raquan. Big shout to Raquan. We have, obviously, the instigator and the investigator himself, Ehi, the official third co-host of RTBTH. We also have the West Coast connection. So our boys, Ari and Jay in California and LA, and then Ari, of course, is the KOHT, the king of hot takes. Man, and then we also have the travel expert, Justin was good. Yo, we got hella dudes. Obviously, we got the the producer, Justin Blackman Productions.
Salute.
who made our introduction music.
Shout out to
shoot, I'm
Justin.
trying to think. Is there any other?
Did you salute G-Day? We had G-Day on for a little bit.
Yeah, well, salute to G-Day.
Yeah, rest in peace to my dog.
Rest in peace
Willow
to the dog.
Rest in peace too.
Yeah, also real quick, our first podcast wasn't with G-Day, but the first podcast that's in our feed, because I think some shit got screwed up, is the one with G-Day. So the very first podcast, if you want to get to know the brother, go to it. Check it out. So I'm unveiling a new moniker, specifically a faction in RTBTH, a faction of personalities. We have so many great personalities on RTBTH, and we have two, well, not new personalities, but a new faction of two personalities, which is the RTBTH Podfathers. Welcome. What's good, fellas?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yo, Tune, it's exciting to be
us.
here. Yes. I know as a co-host, I'm here, most of the time anyway, but in this new role, it is definitely very exciting. For the fans, I do want to let y'all know, I am the novice podfather in this regard. So that's why we also have the basketball expert Will to come on, provide his additional perspective. He's a very seasoned veteran of 7 months.
7 months.
The senior podfather.
Eventually, we'll get some more, maybe older dads, or we'll be older dads by that point. Have more, it takes more perspective. But I think it's really interesting to provide some of these insights to, young Black fathers out here, or potential fathers, stuff that we experienced, stuff that they didn't tell us, that, I feel like we should have known, or, some stuff that you kind of can't even be told because you kind of have to experience it and go through it. And then, just share our perspective. I think that's really important to us as a people. So without any further ado, I would love to get into it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think we've officially said it, but I think it's been implied, obviously. And we had a special guest on the podcast just 5 minutes ago. But what actually are we talking about today, Podfathers?
Will, if you want to make your announcement.
Well, as you know, I am a podfather now because my wife and I, Amber, we welcomed Willow, our baby girl, on June 30th. Yeah, air horns, blah, all that. Yeah, June 30th, 23. So she just made 7 months a few days ago. All kinds of new milestones going around, and the last 7 months have been, just the best of my life. So I'm here to share about it. Here to learn too, because that's what it's about. Building up this little community of Black fatherhood.
Yo, so you said June 30th. So she has a 6 in her birthday, which is for the late, great, and powerful Bill Russell. 30 for Steph Curry, and then 23 for LeBron, of course. Not that other guy.
Wow.
The disrespect for greatness.
But I don't know. I don't know if that somehow portends what Willow has in her future, pulling up from half court, perhaps.
Hoop dreams.
Well, our producer, Justin Blackman, has blessed her with her first basketball already. And I can show you guys a picture of her. She really took to it immediately. So, who knows what's in the cards, man? Who knows? We're going to see.
I'm sure y'all have seen that picture of LeBron at Christmas, where it's like the best investment ever, where he gets like a basketball goal as like a 5-year-old or something. We're hoping for those same dreams for Willow. That's lovely. But so you first off mentioned one thing before I even get into my spiel. Salute to the moms. That's very important here. Obviously, we're the pod fathers coming out here discussing, our perspectives and things, but none of what we have to say can amount to what the moms have had to put their bodies through, their minds through. I mean, we could talk a whole podcast, I'm sure, just on that alone. But, we just wanted to off rip say salute, appreciate y'all for holding it down. My wife right now is watching the baby as it is. So just, without further ado, we had our child a little over a month ago, a month and 5 days. So he's still fresh out the pack, man. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yes, he still has that newborn baby smell. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So
what's the birthday?
12/29/2023. Just snuck in before the new year. I'll get into how all that happened in a few minutes. Because it was
I think we know how it happened.
Before we had anticipated, but modern medicine is crazy. Salute to the doctors as well, but they blessed us with a beautiful, healthy baby boy. So very excited. So first things first, we were having some pre-podcast discussion, and Will, you were talking about something that I've also experienced in kind of different regards, and the shit is crazy. Quite literally, the shit is crazy. We're going to talk about dirty diapers. Just offer it, So what were your
I just
early
want to,
experiences?
first of all, I just want to go ahead and jump in and say, I ain't never seen so many diapers in one place when I went to Herschel's crib in December. It was like a mountain. I'm like, bro, like the baby's not even here yet. But Will was like, nope, Will was like, you don't even have enough yet. Just go ahead and just keep stacking them.
Bro,
So
they go through them things, man. And yeah, man, it's an experience. Cause like I remember, so when Willow was about age like the diapers didn't stink that bad yet. And I didn't know that, like that they come out because they're only drinking like breast milk. They're getting all the nutrients out. So poops it's just poop. It's like perfectly fine. It doesn't smell. I don't know. Maybe Herschel can tell different, but yeah. Maybe he's gotten to a new phase in that. But yeah, I remember at first, like the first few weeks or whatever, or month, they weren't stinky. And then one day it just smelled like a grown woman had come in this house. And yeah, that's kind of where we are now, man. It's
Is she doing solid foods yet? Was it any kind of change in diet?
The diet changes. So right around 6 months, she started solid foods. So that's been fun too, like just watching her try new things. But yeah, those diapers start to change along with that. So
And how many times a day would you say that you're changing, one of the dirtiest of diapers?
She gives a good 4 maybe, and like 2 of those are like real. Like we've had a record number of blowouts here. I don't know if everybody knows what a blowout is, but that's where the poop is so voluminous and forceful that it forces itself out of the diaper into the clothes and sometimes surrounding materials, God,
yo, y'all are going to have to switch up the conversation if you want to convince any young brothers out there to have families.
Listen, it's not so bad. It really is not so bad.
It really isn't, bro. It's crazy. This is how you know how much you love these kids, because you see that you're not as phased as you think. Like you're like, oh, let me get them cleaned up. Oh man, you and yeah, Willow has some thoughts on that as well, as you can hear.
Well, she heard you was talking that shit.
Literally.
Well, yeah, literally.
She did.
Yeah,
man. But that's also when you realize how much you love them, because you're like, I'm cleaning shit off of clothes, off of possibly me, them, and like I'm okay because I just want to take care of them. So it's kind of weird in that way.
H5 has also been having some of the dirtiest of diapers I've ever seen, but we have probably the other end of the spectrum where his frequency is not that much. And it's really like, every couple of days now at this point where we'll see a poop. But the thing is, when he poops, the volume of poop is for sure like, oh, nah, y'all gonna know, what time it is. We actually only have had one blowout, but what'll happen is he'll poop and I'll be like, oh, okay, I can smell you pooped. Let's go change. And then he's like, nah, I'm not done yet. Even though it's already a lot of poop there. And I'm like mid diaper change. He's like, no. There's more to this. And I'm like swapping out diapers and we'll end up going through 2 or 3. And it's to the point where like, yes, you want them to be finished and comfortable. You don't want them sitting in poop at all. You don't want it spreading around and stuff. But I'll be like, damn, I just went through 5 diapers in this 5-minute segment right here, just trying to catch, damn soft serve coming out, my man. What's going on? This shit is crazy. This shit is literally crazy. And at this stage, it is good. It's part of the metabolism. We've, made sure to talk to the doctor. They were like, yeah, the frequency obviously varies. All babies are for sure different. So, even on this podcast, I wanted to express whatever we're experiencing is going to be different from what other people end up experiencing for sure, which again is why it's important to share your own, thoughts and feelings about, okay, how did this make you feel and stuff. But just like, Will said, the love that you kind of have, like, oh man, it's 3 a.m. Damn, he can't just sit in this for just a little bit long, like maybe another hour. No. You want to you're more enticed to get up and make sure that he's comfortable or she's comfortable more than anything else. It is a crazy switch almost that gets flipped. This kind of leads into some of my next point of like, when, a woman is pregnant, generally, unless it is truly a surprise, you have that 8 or 9 months really to kind of come to grips with the fact that like, oh, something is going down. You don't really
Yeah.
it's very hard to fathom before the end that, a new person is going to be here that you are responsible for and have to take care of. But you do have a kind of a timeline, like a runway of like, okay, something is about to happen. Let me try to get my mind right. Your mind is never right. Even when they pop out, it's like, nah, this is, unfathomable. But I do think that, in the biological time frame that you get to really just kind of come to grips, your own, male hormones that are going on, preparing you for what it is that you have to undertake. I think it's all truly a blessing. Like if it were like overnight, I think, we'd all be losing our minds. But Will, what's your take?
Right. Yeah. Thank God we get those 9 months, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because the male experience during that pregnancy has a lot of, I mean, of course it's not like the mother's, but it has, we have some of that overlap, some hormonal things going on, and just like psychological, like while Amber was pregnant, I was hustling, man. I got a new job. We were getting a new house. We were moving. I had to rehome my dog, like we had, I had to really get ready, like mentally, tried to physically, had to get the pockets ready, all that, So yeah, man, it's like women, they say they go through like this nesting phase where they're getting everything ready, like in the 3 months prior. I think we kind of do the same thing, like on a different scale, maybe different areas of our life. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of change, a lot of prep going on. I know I shared the book or a book or two that I was reading, during that time with you. So yeah, man, that was a special time. I don't think you could ever be ready, but it's definitely great to, start walking in that direction.
Men do have one thing going for them. And by the way, if you guys haven't found out by now, I'm kind of mostly here for comedic relief. So I don't have a child. But what men do have one thing going for them, which is whiskey and beer, which is why I propose for all men in the earth, in the world, to cease alcohol use during the pregnancies of their wives and partners. Yes.
Yeah, that's a thing that you can try, a combined abstinence, because of course, the mother can't drink during the time. That's hard. So we didn't do that.
Can you gentlemen commit to that now?
I would. Let's discuss. That's a good
I did
point.
A partial version.
Okay, what'd you do?
Like if we were out, I would in solidarity, not drink with her. But then there were times where she would be like, "No, go ahead and get a drink," because like one of us should have fun, and then she would be like, "Let me smell it."
Yes,
just to remember what it was like. And I felt bad in those times, but hey, we're in this together. Watch me imbibe, and you, I'm doing this for you.
Will setting the standards.
No, that's a great point, Will. And I think, more than anything, it comes down to that communication. Obviously, people have their own vices and different things, different levels. I don't think you should be out here belligerent while your wife is, not able to do anything at all. But, being able to share in that, my wife as well was like, oh, yeah, what'd that smell like? Well, I remember those days. We used to be turning up. But, for, of course, the health of the child, I tried to cut back on what I was drinking. It would only be pretty much like social if, I was with you guys even, or, other friends, some other significant social activity where it's like, okay, this makes sense for, at least one of us to be enjoying some libations. But for the most part, I was cutting back. And even now after the fact, so after a month out, we got a chance to have our first date night out. Salute to the grandparentals for watching H5 so that we could go out and watch a movie. That movie, American Fiction. Y'all go out and watch it. It is a great film. Very, very funny. Especially for our Black intellectual audience. It's not going to make you angry in the way that, James Baldwin kind of says, as an intelligent Black man in America, you're going to be angry. It is what it is, but it plays on a lot of those things. It has, I don't know if y'all have ever seen like Hollywood Shuffle. It's like an old 70s movie, but it just kind of parodies, what it's like to be a Black person in, Hollywood. This is black people in, high level literature. It's a writer that basically is like white people eating up some trash nonfiction that's like a faux black experience for white guilt or whatever. Just as an overview, but great film. It's probably going to be on streaming soon. It has some nominations for sure, but definitely check it out. Taylor fell asleep during the movie. Of course, we already knew. We went to get like some drinks beforehand. The waiter was like, "Yo, tequila shot," and we were like, "Oh, maybe," but we definitely gonna be asleep during this thing. So I had a coffee for sure beforehand. Taylor was out like a light, but the movie was fun. It was fun and entertaining. Some really good laughs. Definitely recommend.
That's so funny because I have those similar recollections. I think me and Amber tried to do a movie date night, like our first, date night as parents, and it took like 3 tries. Like we didn't even get to the movie. We would just fall asleep like at home, like.
And even that is
you get a
low-key
babysitter and that sleep just shoots up. Like priority number 1, you realize how little you've been sleeping. Yeah, but
so is that a situation where you just hit up the grandparentals and you're like, we coming through with this baby and dropping them off with you? Like, is it pretty straightforward? Is it pretty straight up? Like, just, hit the line like, oh, we coming through with this baby, like 30 minutes or an hour notice? Or is this the type of thing where you gotta, plan like 2-3 days in advance? Like,
well, yeah, I don't know what Hirsch, you can tell us about y'all's dynamic, but I have a blended family. So Willow has about, I guess, 3 sets of grandparents. My parents are divorced, and then there's Willow's parents. So everybody is vying for their time. Everybody wants a little time. So we have like very eager babysitters.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
So it doesn't take a lot. So I'm really, really thankful for them. Like during the week while we're working, I work from home, but I sometimes could be on calls like all day. So my mom comes, or a couple days a week, I take her over to Amber's parents. Dude, we are so thankful for that. It makes all the difference in the world to have like support, man, and community. It's everything.
Definitely agree. I mean, people say all the time that it takes a village stuff, but like it literally is like, we need a team of people to be functioning like, adults that, we're professionals. We have, even though like you mentioned, working from home, it's really critical to have, a couple of extra pair of hands. I was going to ask Will, so is this y'all's first or your family's first grandchild? Because I think that may affect as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So she's the first grandbaby. So that definitely, it contributes a lot, for like Amber's side and mine, she's the first grandbaby. So,
yep. So again, salute to being the oldest. We hadn't mentioned that, I don't think, on the podcast, but all 3 of us happen to be the oldest child. I mean, I'm sorry, the seconds kind of get a little bit shorter end of the stick, but hey, we don't make the rules. It is what it is. It is what it is. But we also, as the oldest, I think, get experimented on a lot. We'll get into the fears and the worries that are always. Yeah. We become
hardened by bad
truly,
parenting.
Yes. We got all the best and the worst aspects of those early parents. So, but for sure, on my side, my parents, this is their first grandchild. So both my parents try to come over a couple of times during the week. Mostly my mom to kind of help, with laundry, sometimes feeding the baby, and really just watching him during the day while we're trying to catch up on some sleep definitely helps. And because my dad doesn't want to miss out, sometimes he'll also drive over with her. Even if he sometimes has to go to work later in the day, they'll drive separate cars. And I'll be like, damn, you guys are really dedicated to come see this baby, 45 minutes, an hour away, which is love. It's really exciting. And then on Taylor's side, her mom has 2 other grandchildren already, but it's been about 10 years or so. But we live a little bit closer to her. So I try to clear it in advance of like, okay, are we going to go do something? I want to take Taylor out to do something a couple of weeks in advance or whatever. Are you free to watch him this night? And, we generally make it work from there. And it's crazy because even, we'll, not that we have problems with the baby, but he'll be fussy or whatever. When he's with the grandparents, it's always super chill. They're always like, yeah, no, it was nothing. He didn't cry. He didn't act out. He's asleep right now. What do you mean? And then when he gets back, it's,
those grandparents are seasoned parents.
They are seasoned, man. And you get to see it.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things for me was seeing Willow interact with her granddads. That was really cool. Like those dudes just melt when they're around her, turn into people I haven't met before. But it's cool to see, man. It's cool to see, bro. Like how has that experience been, like watching your parents parent a baby, like kind of getting that perspective of what it might have been looking like when you were around. You know, it's kind of weird. It's kind of cool though.
For sure. Definitely agree. It makes me kind of jealous because I'm like, damn. And I know, of course, when I was a baby, my parents showed all the love and affection that they had to. But even now, I'm like, y'all are calling me just for him. Like this is not even, you're asking if he could come and play versus,
Bro.
if we need anything. What's that about?
You show up dolo, they're like, oh.
Yeah, it's actually a problem. If I were to show up without H5, there would be truly an issue, and they have all the questions for him. And of course, that's really important. I'm of course an adult now, self-sufficient. I think it does reflect, well on them of like, okay, they've produced me as a child that can now sustain myself and am supporting another. So they have free reign to kind of do what they want. My dad has been already, buying little toys. He got a Falcons onesie for my son, and just too excited. We put it on him, and he was already fussing and crying, just like I do every Sunday. So already embodying the Falcons fan. Truly, I'm sorry I had to do this to you, son, but you got to learn some trauma and some struggle in your life, and you might as well start off now. So
yeah.
Definitely exciting. Salute. It's
a blessing to have the parents, man. And on RTBTH, we like to do the analytics, the critical analysis and whatnot. And I don't have any of that right now, but my intuition is that childcare is pretty expensive in the United States. I don't know data and statistics, but I hear about this all the time, so I'm sure y'all would figure it out, with or without the grandparents if they're around to take care of the babies. But it's a blessing, to have them around, as are the babies themselves. They're also blessings.
So I can speak to this a little bit. Willow is not in childcare or anything or daycare or anything yet, right, Will?
Correct. Yeah, she's with the grandparents for now. We're delaying that as long as possible. Yep. It'll come, eventually, but
yeah, that's definitely the goal for us as well. So we don't necessarily, my mom is retired, but we, you don't necessarily want to give a child that it is a full-time job for, a newborn or, an infant at all for someone to be watching that does kind of detract from what it is they want to do. We've kind of worked out a bit of a contract for what, my mom will come and do and here and there, but we've also started that daycare search. And of course you want the best for your baby, but the best costs money, obviously. But the disparities between, so for our daycare search, the disparities between what good and bad looks like and what, of course is necessary for an infant, because there's all kinds of stuff that'll be teaching your baby Chinese and all kinds of different things. And it's like, oh yeah, this would be wonderful, but also this is not going to be useful or conducive to their success in the long run. Sure, it may, fire some more neurons in their brain or whatnot, but we, being education minded, are going to encourage that type of growth and development on our own at home. So what is that balance of what we should pay for, what we shouldn't? I got to tell you guys about this one story of a wild daycare that we went to visit on our tour of daycares. We went and visited probably 15, and some of them are, on different stages, different levels. We're asking all the different questions, y'all, taking vaccinated babies. What's going on? Do y'all know CPR certification? One place, gave a little pause like, yes. And we're like, see? That pause alone, and you have to be certified. Yes, for it, you have to be infant CPR certified. Most places, if you ask them, they're like, hell yeah, of course, absolutely. There's no way that we could not possibly. This one place hesitated, and we were like, all right, so that's already a problem. We know y'all running some BS up in here. This is not where we want our baby. Of course, You
want to name some names, Herschel? What place was this? No, I'm playing.
I'll name them because they down the street.
At least tell me offline so we can strike them off the list.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because we you try to cast a wide net. I think we've looked kind of even. You're not too far from us, Will. Even farther outside of the perimeter towards y'all, all different directions. Really, we've been looking. We can chat about it for sure more offline. There are some good ones. There are some less good ones, but there's one. And this is actually attached to a famous name. Maybe we'll get aggregated off this, podcast going up. But I'm sure you guys are familiar with Carrie Hilson, the artist and songwriter. She actually went to Emory, Oxford. She didn't go to real Emory, but that's neither here nor there. I didn't mean real Emory. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm sorry. Main campus Emory. I'll say main campus Emory. Oxford and Emory is still Emory University. She did not get her associate's degree from there either. So that's where I'm giving her the shots, not necessarily the rest of the school. The school is also great. But so she and her family are also from Atlanta, Georgia, Decatur, Tucker-ish area. Her mother runs a daycare center in the area. Now you would think her daughter's famous, we're not counting pockets or nothing, but you would think that there would have been some reinvestment into the family business or whatever. Taylor, my wife, also knew them. We knew them. I also knew some of the family growing up and stuff through college or whatever. We go over to the daycare center. It is wild up in there. It looked like an episode of Hoarders. Truly. We come in.
Wow. You said hoarders?
Hoarders. Like there's all kinds of crap and toys and books and stuff stacked up.
Oh, damn,
you come in
bruh.
the door. There's a flower pot, like a big, largest, maybe like 1.5 diameter flower pot on the floor. It's a turtle in the flower pot on the floor like when you walk in front of the desk,
Turtle.
like before the desk. And
Don't
I'm like,
babies like turtles? I
mean, yeah, I love turtles, but also turtles on the floor in an open container. Turtles do, promote disease. I'm gonna just be real. That water was not looking clean. Even in a big,
but babies love turtles.
They do. We have one of those. It's like a thermometer for the bath water, and that thing is a turtle. H5 loves it. It's crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
We'll get to the adorable baby things maybe on another podcast because they'll sell you some stuff now. They'll sell you some stuff.
Boy, they got stuff.
Straight turtle definitely sounds a little shady.
Yes, but even there were just all kinds of things. Like if they had taken like a weekend and this business had been in place for over 30 plus years. They had kids and stuff in there. It was nap time, and then the kids were asleep. They looked healthy and in good spirits. Generally, one was faking sleep as we were doing our tour. Little boy was like, "I'll see y'all over there." I'm like, "All right, bro. This nap time for you. You need to lay low, sir." But there were just other things of like, "No, we can't even really navigate through this because God forbid something falls down and hurts a baby or causes a worker or somebody to trip. That's a bad look. You don't want that to happen." And kids are just prone to bumping into stuff and making even at home, we still have many things that we need to do to just kind of do more baby proofing and stuff like that. And when you're sending them to, a professional care facility, you just don't want that. And it just was astonishing to us that, I know it has nothing to do with the music industry or whatever, but you're associated. Your name is on this. Hilson, the name is on there. We all can Google and look it up. We see what's going on. And I don't know if maybe this has to do with, she had some Carrie had some things to say about the vaccine a couple of years ago. We're not going to relitigate any of that stuff, but it is what it is.
Man,
Wi-Fi.
Yes,
And
5G.
5G.
So actually, before we even get into anything else, since we're talking about this Fatherhood podcast, all those people talking, and we mentioned it actually on this podcast years ago about the vaccine and how people had fears of it affecting their reproductive organs and things. Hey, listen, I haven't seen this many babies. And maybe it's because we're in the age demographic now where everybody's popping out kids, but it's been a boom. Part of that is, of course, people staying at home and stuff, but ain't no way the vaccine had any kind of effect on people's reproductive situations. And of course, stuff.
Was that a
Yeah, what
like
Nicki Minaj say? The man's testicles swole up.
Yes.
Yeah, mine. No, I mean, I don't know. I was good.
Nicki Minaj been saying a lot recently.
Yeah, she's been saying a lot. She's been saying a whole lot.
But nah, so yeah, that it just goes back to, the next time that modern medicine does a great thing, finds a cure to some disease that's affecting the world and people start to question it, obviously ask your questions, do whatever, but, be reasonable. We need to understand that, true scientists, modern medicine, we're going to get, I think it's our next topic in a second. Salute to modern medicine.
I mean, well, let me go ahead and hop in this podcast because I have a lot to say as a non-father about fatherhood.
Please.
And
you do.
But I will say real quick, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to achieve my truest form, which is Uncle Toon.
Yes,
and
sir.
I feel like I've generally hovered in that area of being a very well respected uncle for many people, but now I can actually do so officially. But as an uncle, I have another decree. The first obviously being that, the fathers need to be sober in solidarity with their wives. My other decree is y'all got to stop with nap time. Always trying to put babies to sleep. We want to stay up and play. We want to stay up and play.
You're wildin', sir.
And do stuff and hang out and play PlayStation. Y'all always talk about
that's that
nap
uncle
time.
mentality. You're truly embodying it now of like, oh no, do all this dangerous stuff.
It's not about being uncle. It's about what we want. It's about what's right. Baby shouldn't have to go to nap all the time. It's napping at 12 and napping at 3, and then you make him go to sleep early as hell, like 6:30.
Got to.
Nobody's trying to go to sleep at 6:30. I'm putting my foot
All right.
down. I'm putting my foot down, and this has to change. Sign my petition.
It's important. It's important to their cognition. Okay, let's see how many baby signatures you get.
Sign my petition on bullshit.com. Yeah, man, I'm rallying all the babies, man. We're tired of this. They tell me these things.
It sound like they need a nap. Just they tired.
I don't know if you were making it out correctly, Tom. They might have been telling you, no, want a nap.
Yes.
We want to play. We want to roll balls around and just do stuff.
Willow has reached this stage where she like fights naps now. Like she used to just sleep all the time. It was lovely. You know, you do a little bit and then next thing you know, she sleep. You could do something else, wake her back up. But no, now she just wants to stay up and you got to, you know, really dedicate yourself to putting her down for a nap. We got to get the noise machine on and get the lighting right and the rocking chair. Because like, as you can see right now, she is turned up. Like she is grabbing every cord that's coming out of my laptop or me. She's turned up. And sometimes you need a break, bro. You just need like an hour or two in the day to like not be on guard.
Yes.
Well, I'm advocating for the babies in this regard. The parents, that's not our problem. Breaks.
As an uncle or as a baby?
Parents needing naps, that's not our problem. This is a movement to play and do stuff and hang out and chill and crawl and throw balls around and play with little turtle things.
Nah, we hear you, man. We'll take it back to the Parents Coalition and see if we can get a collective bargaining agreement going. But
I'm just going to let you know, you're going to have a tough time selling this to the moms. You know, you might be able to get us dads on board. But
yes.
The moms kind of chair the committee and
yes.
they rule with a bit of an iron fist tune. So
yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, I'm going to have to reconvene with the baby coalition and see how we can maneuver this. But anyway, you know, just I'm sure Uncle Toon will come up with a few more decrees. But yeah, man, I was just wondering, like, you know, devices, the babies have no understanding or conception of them, but they're addictive, you know, so. Is it like, are you like noticing that the babies are just gravitating towards like, you know, just kind of like whether it's the lights or the sounds or something, like they just are kind of already attracted to the devices?
So little Herschel is probably a little too young for that stage yet. When babies come out, and this is one of the things they do teach you, they tell you a million things. You basically are getting a PhD in babies, you know, downloaded as they give them to you and, you know, kick you out the hospital. They're like, yeah, you know, just feed them every 2 hours. But sometimes they don't want to be fed all that often. And sometimes they're cluster feeding. So you got to feed them even more than that. But don't worry about it. You got this. You know, it's one of those situations of like everything and nothing at the same time. But so babies can't see very far when they first come out. It's maybe like it's in black and white. And it's like, you know, they're just seeing kind of blurry motion. Their eyes have not fully developed. It may be like 11 to like 15 inches out or something like that. And as they grow, they can see a little bit better. They're starting to kind of recognize different things. So one of the things that, you know, people will give you or toys that they'll make for babies are like high contrast. It'll be a lot of black and white. Of course, you're trying to get them used to seeing numbers and symbols and letters and stuff like that. But they're reaching out for like anything and everything at this stage. Willow may be in that next phase where she's starting to see like, you know, they can see lights. They can see, you know, stuff flashing and, you know, that they're finding that kind of stuff interesting, things that are making noises and sounds. But it probably isn't until 2 or so where they're like, oh, that's a screen over there. And if I mess with this tablet right here, I can do stuff with this screen. And if I mess with it hard enough, new toys will show up at the door via Amazon. And that is a scary, scary stage because, you know, people make all kinds of, this is a funny thing. Your Instagram is probably blowing up with kid stuff, Will.
Yes, bro. It's crazy. Me and Amber always talk about the algorithm and how it knows. It knows that I'm bald headed because they're trying to sell me shavers all the time. It knows that I'm a dad because there's babies all up and down my feed and products. It's crazy how much they know about us. But yes, that's exactly what my Instagram looks like.
Yeah. So they basically, you know, make all types of different things that are different stimuli for babies. A lot of it is BS. I mean, we've been, you know, figuring out how to do this for millennia. You know, they'll always sell you kind of a newer thing to be like, oh, this will keep your baby's attention for such or increase their neck strength or their eye movement or just different things that all I assume, you know, relate back to cognition and growth. But no matter what, they're growing. Eventually, I'm sure, you know, we will make a cognitive decision to introduce screens. It also is one of those like constant Cold War battles of like, okay, well, we want our baby to ideally just only have basically ideal stuff. Oh, we only want them to have breast milk until it's like, okay, well, we don't have enough breast milk at this time. We need to supplement with formula or do something else. Or, oh man, you don't want to give him a pacifier yet because he's not latching to the breast nipple, or, he doesn't understand kind of the difference yet. But eventually it's like, okay, he's fussing. He needs this pacifier to pacify him, literally. And then at that stage, it's like, all right, hopefully he can identify the difference, and it can be an effective maneuver. And it just becomes a constant battle of, okay, we don't want to introduce anything too soon so that it kind of messes with how they associate with, technology or different things or what have you. I mean, we watch TV. The TV is on. That's technically a screen. Sometimes I'll see him turn around like, what y'all watching? What's going on over there? There's no way he could see it from there. And, we watch, fun stuff or, not kid related things, but he can't comprehend that. But at some stage, we're going to have to flip that switch of, all right, we can't be watching, HBO basically with him in the room, because he's going to not even necessarily pick up on it, but it's just too much stimuli, explosions and bullets flying. And, they can't necessarily comprehend, what's happening there to keep them calm. They're going to want to be excitable, basically. So I know you're 7 months, or 6 months greater into this experience than I have. Have you experienced Willow kind of, starting to cognitively identify not only screens, but just other stimuli around the house? You mentioned earlier she's grabbing everything.
Yeah, man. She's in this into everything phase. So like you were saying about their vision and stuff and how that develops, like, we definitely had the high contrast cards, and you move through like stages like 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6, and then 6+. And they have increasing color and complexity. So we were doing that with her. But now she's in the phase where she loves toys that light up and play music, which she's probably would like right now, if not a nap.
Yeah. So one of the things, we're talking about that kind of lead up stage before fatherhood. I do think it's important that, you take some personal time, whether it's with your significant other that's having the baby as a father, or, just with other friends and family, or just stuff for you. So obviously I like to play video games. Definitely had to go ahead, cop the PS5 Slim that finally came out right before Christmas this year. So that was a nice little thing. So, H5 will just kind of go to sleep, and I get a chance to play the new Spider-Man, or I've been trying to play the new Madden. It's trash. It's still trash, but I'm addicted. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I hate it, but also I do love it. I was hoping the Falcons would be a little bit better, but I miss my Matt Ryan, my Julio. I was playing Madden 2021 for the past like 5 years, so it is what it is. The other thing that I did this summer was I took this trip with my dad and one of my or friend of the podcast, Justin, travel expert Justin. This was a travel experience that we actually did to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, to the world's biggest air show, which was super wild. It was really lit. My dad is a recreational pilot, so we got a chance to fly up actually into the air show with him. They have like time slots basically of like, all right, you got to come in the morning before, shit gets crazy, before we're doing air shows. Otherwise, you're going to be in the air show. So basically we flew in.
That's fucking hilarious, man. If you like found yourself in and this is like planes like zooming by you, like, flipping, doing all the crazy air tricks, and you're just like trying to do your little landing. H3 is just like trying to, remain steady and, land this plane right. And that's just hilarious vision to me. But
yeah, it's quite chaotic. Like they do a great job. This is one of the few times when there's a different airport that is busier than Hartsfield Jackson. For this little week of, it's like 500, it might be thousands of airplanes, not just people. It's several thousand people that are out there, but airplanes alone, not only military planes or whatever, warbirds, as they like to call them, which look dope as fuck. They are so cool, but also people's personal planes and stuff. And then just general people kind of driving in from different areas of the country, road tripping, RVs, camping out, all kinds of stuff like that. But so basically we went up there for 4 or 5 days. We got a chance to park in like the, vintage airplane section. And that's only because planes are set up by the year that the airfoil was built. My dad's plane was built in the 70s, so it's not no newfangled. It's not a jet. Let's not get it twisted. We're not out here balling like that. But it is a cool thing of like, oh yeah, the family can jump in this 4-seater, go visit, Florida or Philadelphia or freaking Wisconsin. We've done it. It's super exciting. It's super chill. It's way better than, going through TSA and all kinds of stuff. But it was a really cool experience. Tunde, we were actually talking about this one time many years ago. I want to say like 2016 or so. We went to an air show here in Atlanta.
Do you know the name of it?
Yeah, Peachtree to Cab air show, PDK air show. And there tragically was a crash that occurred because, again, like you said, people are out there pushing the limits, doing flips and all kinds of stuff. And, this is real machinery. This, one of the exciting things, of course, about it is, these are somewhat death-defying events and stuff. And the engineering alone of like, oh, man, salute to the engineers, not only the pilots and stuff, but they develop these airplanes and these engines to be able to withstand some of the wild flips and tricks and fireworks shows and smoke and stuff shooting off the airplane, airplanes freezing in midair, just defying physics, literally. It's pretty amazing. So there was a tragic incident, not only back then, but there were a couple of incidents this year as well at this big air show. They have like these super light airs.
What is going on with these air shows?
I'm looking
it up. And like I found the one that that happened in 2016, and I'll link these in the show notes. But then like a couple other ones came up, I think for PDK. I'm like, bro, y'all crash like every year, like.
It's not every year, but it happens. If you think about like the number of car crashes and particularly fatal car crashes that happen on the regular, it shouldn't, dissuade you from going on flights for sure. Obviously, I know that Boeing thing was in the news the other day of the door blowing off. I don't know if that was a malfunction for the actual engineered plane. I know they're losing some stock prices for sure because there's been a couple of Boeing situations that have been happening. And I mean, it's nothing like a big headline that moves the needle for money, but air travel is still the safest and best way to travel 9 times out of 10 if you're going any distance more than really 2 hours driving.
Yeah, but I'm saying the air show, the tricks and the things that they do in the air is like you said, is death defying. But I figured there's an incredible level of certainty as to what you're getting into. But I don't know, is it like kind of like a daredevil thing? Like you're really out here risking it?
But so it is highly regulated. I will say the FAA in general, like air travel in general, whether it's recreational, private pilot's license, instrument, or if you're doing commercial stuff or military or whatever, it is very highly regulated. Not only the airplane itself is like regularly getting checked. You cannot be out here flying. Every time for example, you see a movie where somebody steals a plane, Top Gun or Mission Impossible or some shit where they fucking finagle and get in that plane. That's not happening. It's not happening with, some old rust bucket that's been sitting in a warehouse for a million years or whatever. That it just is not feasible. There are too many different checks and things required to make sure that generally not only the pilot is safe, but the people on the ground are safe as well. This actually leads me into the next point about this particular air show. So obviously we're all black, me, my dad, Justin, but we linked up with a bunch of black aerobatics pilots that were up there, and aerobatics is air acrobatics, as you might guess. And there are only like 6 or 7 of these dudes in the country that like professionally do this, but they have a bunch of training that they do. I might need to salute to this guy. I forget his last name. Mel the pilot is his name, but he has this dope ass green plane that was actually featured while out there. He's trying to get on with what's Jay-Z's what's LeBron's friend's name? Who's the agent? Oh my God, I can't remember this dude's name. But he's in contacts with like Jay-Z and others just to get Matt Carter, just trying to get just black wealth out here too, because the shows are incredible. It's a good time. And just kind of showing that we as black people shouldn't, shy away from such a thing as well. Sure, there are barriers to entry, like in all things, but there are avenues for sure into this. OBAP, which is the Organization of Black Aviation, they have a convention every year. This past year it was in New Orleans. So each time we were up there running into other black pilots, it was one of those situations of like, oh, it's a group of black people over here. And then it would just kind of attract more and more black people. I have this dope picture of all of us kind of congregating around my homeboy's plane. Very cool environment and experience. A lot of these guys are either ex-military. They have these Slug Club pilots meetings that they do every Monday night. and, young black pilots that are trying to get into the game, trying to either work for the military or work for the industry in, for airlines and things where it is a very lucrative field, but it can be hard to get into. So having kind of that mentorship to help navigate is super important. And they come back and they tell all these stories like, yeah, racism happens, but here's how you navigate. Here's how you, just like everything else being black in America, you have to, be 10 times better and, make sure all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed. You can't come in with any kind of faults or different things because, this is America, just like anywhere else. But on top of that, they'll talk about like, oh man, check rides where, again, I mentioned the FAA is heavily regulating things. You always have these different tests and exams and just, make sure you're on top of your game. And there was a story that was happening. Oh, man, this one pilot, he failed his check ride. This veteran pilot, this dude is retired. He was like, oh, yeah, failing check ride, that's nothing. That's like getting shot down. You could do that and keep it moving. And we're like, bro, wait a minute. You can't move past the get shot down part. What do you mean, sir? He said it's so casual sitting right there. And, a million other, 4 or 5, I don't mean a million, 4 or 5 other black pilots that were in the room were like, yeah, it ain't nothing, just, it's part of the job, cost to do a business, do whatever.
Getting shot down?
Bruh, getting shot down. Yes, out of his airplane. He pulled the chute or whatever. And I didn't get a chance to get the full rest of that story. I've gone to, 15, 20 of these meetings over the past 5, 10 years or whatever. But each time it's a really good time. It shows black excellence. Like I said, the careers of a pilot are incredibly lucrative. It is a tough job because you are literally traveling. It's a thing that I could see, getting H5 into in the future. Obviously, he's a little kid, so we're trying to get him into, airplanes and just different, toys and different things like that. So his baby shower was themed airplanes. He's got, all kinds of stupid stuff like that. Some of it is in commemoration to his grandfather, H3, who's a pilot. But it's just another avenue for an opportunity to have, another career path that isn't often available to black people. But yeah, it was basically a dope picture or trip that I got a chance to do with my dad that, just made me kind of reminiscent of like, okay, this would be a cool thing that I would love to be able to do with my son. He wouldn't be able to, have the same, comprehension because kids obviously are still learning and growing. He probably would hate it, honestly, of just, oh man, we're walking around doing bullshit all day. But, over time, eventually it becomes, oh, this was a fun thing. This is a memory that I get to have. Even now I think back to like even the stuff that I might not have enjoyed as much at the time, you can now kind of appreciate of like, oh yeah, I got this time to hang out or do this thing that, he enjoyed, I enjoyed. And Will, welcome back. Did you get a chance to think of anything that you got to do for yourself before Willow pretty much took over your life?
I didn't get to do anything quite as, pointed maybe and sentimental as your father-son trip, which I'm a little jealous of now. But I knew that my nights were going to consist of, a different routine once Willow was here. So I really did take my opportunities to stay up late. Like you said, play some video games, play some Call of Duty, explore different herbs and do some of that before
like oregano?
She got here. Yeah, basil, oregano,
a little thyme.
All those herbs. Yeah, dill, wonderful herbs that, you can do things with.
That you can roll up into a blunt and smoke?
Some would say, definitely would say.
Them oregano blunts be hitting.
Spicy, for real. But yeah, so I just kind of took a little bit more personal time because like I knew, things would be shifting.
So
nothing major.
Oh, good. You got Father's Day coming up, so hopefully you'll still get a chance to do something for you. The family will show you some love. Tunde, so while you were down here most recently in Atlanta, we got a chance you actually explained this to us. So if you could explain it again for the pod audience, but we were discussing basically when a child, grows up and essentially, we want them to understand that no matter what, they will be loved by their parents, their family. Could you kind of give us a quick spiel on what we discussed? And I think we can get into how, now that the kids are here, we're trying to embody that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously being a counseling psychologist in training and, I've come across some concepts that have really resonated with me. One of them being unconditional positive regard. So, a psychologist or a psychoanalyst, I guess technically, Carl Rogers, came up with this concept. So I'm actually on the APA Dictionary of Psychology website right now. So let me go ahead and read you a definition, because that's what we do on RTBTH. Read definitions. An attitude of caring, acceptance, and prizing that others express toward an individual, toward your children, irrespective of their behavior and without regard to the other person's personal standards. Unconditional positive regard is considered conducive to the individual's self-awareness, self-worth, personality growth. It is, according to Carl Rogers, a universal human need essential to healthy development. And so it's just like you said, ensuring and, ensuring that your child knows that they're loved. And I think that goes without saying, but in the context of like psychology and human development, Carl Rogers would argue that it's like absolutely essential, and unfortunately we see a lot of that not being provided for a lot of people, and they end up in my office. But no, I think it's, it's like kind of, I'm thinking of it in very like psychological terms, but it's like, in order for your baby to develop in a healthy way and have, good coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms for difficult times in their life and whatnot, like, that unconditional positive regard is essential. And I believe I got that from my parents. And, I've met y'all's parents from time to time, and I know you were showered with that kind of love. So, just putting my psychological lens on it a little bit.
So do you feel like, if we were to deny nap time, would that play into the unconditional positive regard, or would it be against it?
It's not about denying nap time. It's about not forcing us. And when I say us, I'm here representing those that can't speak for themselves because they
baby advocate,
because they're babies and they can't talk. But it's not about denying. It's about using nap time for you. It's for you. Y'all are the ones that want babies to go to nap time.
Nah, they want it to. And this is one of those things where, I feel like it's going to be an interesting time figuring out, of course, as a parent, you're going to say no a lot. This is one of the conversations we kind of had. You had mentioned like, you want to, and I kind of ascribe to this as well. Kids are going to ask questions. They're curious. They're infinitesimally, if that's a word, curious, where, not only are they asking questions, but they're just kind of figuring out like, okay, well, what does this do? What happens if I pull on this, or I, mess with this, or, is dad gonna be upset when I break this thing? And of course, yeah, definitely. But, of course, having that unconditional positive regard means that no matter what they do, we would still, love and provide all that they need. They should have that so that they can continue to be curious about shit within the world. But I would always challenge of like, in answering all questions, my fear would be, as a child, they don't have the cognition yet to kind of recognize and understand what logic is, what it means to kind of answer that. So as a child advocate, what do you say to me saying no because I said so?
Well, so another Uncle Toon decree coming through, which is answer every single question your child asks you. That is my mindset, and when I have children, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm not advocating for, sharing with them anything obscene or inappropriate, but the whole like because I said so, or because go ask your mom, like. And I don't think that's how y'all roll. Obviously, your children aren't asking you questions.
Salute to go ask your mother.
Salute
to go ask your mother.
Ask your mom.
But to me, it's actually for the parents.
I can't wait for that one.
Which is for y'all to communicate complicated concepts on the level of a child. And it's going to take a lot of, bobbing and weaving and whatnot and mental gymnastics. But I feel like, we should give children more credit to understand reality in the world and adult concepts than we sometimes do. And that can kind of end up being like, don't worry about it, or you're too young, or go ask your mom. Well, that actually does sound pretty nice coming out the tongue. Go ask your mom. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
It's got a ring to it, doesn't it?
Got a ring to it.
Let's be real.
Go ask your dad
as well.
Go ask your father. Go ask your dad. I don't know. It doesn't sound as good. go ask your mom.
That's really the trick of no. I think that's I don't want to be the bad guy always. Mom's already Taylor's like, oh no, he's just having fun with you over there, huh? What's that about? And I'm like, no,
True that.
It's just a thing that we have different dynamics. He still comes to you to be soothed. No matter how much I might, do. And so, I have a pretty good success rate of getting them down, but like, it's nothing like mom's. It just is what it is.
I feel that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely will do my best to answer all questions that Willow and Herschel have for me. And I will answer them.
Be like, ask your uncle.
Yeah, exactly. All the existential questions, for sure. They coming to you today.
We FaceTime Uncle Toon.
What is AI?
Well, you know what?
Don't worry about it.
Well, that's yeah.
Oh, see? So you're not going to answer?
See?
Work on it. Yeah. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things, on top of course, answering their questions, showing that, unconditional love, we as parents are now in the mode of like trying to figure out and identify the best ways for them to grow and opportunities for them to succeed. That was kind of where my point about the whole Oshkosh and flight, becoming a pilot and different things, like different avenues for them to have a successful life, be productive members of society or whatever, be free thinkers, do their own thing. They don't necessarily have to follow the parents' own exact path, but be able to figure out, okay, this is my own path. This is what I like. These are, different, unique and dynamic things. And if this doesn't work out, I still have my parents to rely on to come back to reassess, figure that shit out. They've got a lifetime ahead of them. And that's a really beautiful thing to see. Of course, they're blank canvases, but at the same time, they are getting infused with, our own thoughts and feelings. My dad definitely had a conversation with me once I was an adult. Like, yeah, I was an angry black man. And I was like, oh, is that so, Dad? Really? Surprise. Wow. But, as a kid, I felt like he hid that relatively well from me, of just being, there and instilling me with, new ideas or opportunities to break stuff or learn or put different things together. So Will, have you thought about, how you are instilling your own thoughts and mindsets, and even, your wife's thoughts and feelings into Willow? How are you pouring yourself into Willow right now?
Yeah, definitely something I'm thinking about a lot. I'm hoping that I'm not pouring so much of the answers to the test as much as the questions, I want her to be able to be her own person and know that, like, me and her mom are here to support her. Of course, we're going to have some guardrails up. There's certain things that I'm sure will arise that will be, clearly we're not going into, but, I just want her to be curious and, talking about the unconditional positive regard. Like, I tell her I love her probably an insane amount, because I just always want her to know that, Daddy's got her back. Like, I'm here for her no matter what's going on in life. She's always got me behind her. So I think that if I can keep that consistent, she'll be good. She'll be good. Because that's how I feel, with my parents. Like, they're always there. They've always been there, and they always will be, God willing. So, that's just what I want to give her, man. But definitely not. I some people are like, hey, this is my mini me or whatever. Like, no, I don't necessarily want a mini me. I want her to be her. And, she's got already with her personality blossoming, I see a lot of her mom in her, a lot of me. And I'm just overjoyed. Like, I'm not rushing it, but I'm super excited to see what she does do, what she takes to, like, what's her interest, because I remember, do we talk again about being the oldest, I'm 6 years older than my sister and like 18 years older than my little brother. So I got to watch both of them grow up at different stages in my own life, and just remembering, when their personality would come through and, around 10 and 7 and 8, or, and then again in adolescence, they're really starting to coalesce. I'm just excited. I'm so excited about, like, seeing all that, but I do want her to stay a baby as long as possible.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there.
Well, quick, I guess redirect, but this one's for Herschel. Will, you're talking about, having to have conversations with Willow that are complicated, and, that probably is just going to have to play out over time as she matures. But I imagine one of them is eventually going to have to be racism. Willow doesn't know now, but she was born in America, and, well, you know how that goes. obviously I think America's a great country, but it has a, you know, like extraordinary, horrific lineage in slavery and racism and whatnot. But I think, Herschel, you maybe have had some experiences that were perhaps a little untoward. You want to talk about it?
Well, so this kind of gets into, we were talking about modern medicine and medical racism. Our experience in even kind of building up to the birth was that, of course, first off, you want everybody to be healthy, the baby and the mom. Dad is secondary, obviously, to all that, but they are where, if your insurance covers and you're doing all the things, you got to go to 1 million doctor's appointments. And often there will be stories of, oh man, or for us at least, people would share their birth story, and sometimes they would be a little bit traumatic. Most of the time ending in, really good circumstances. But like, even without us asking, like, oh, we heard you're pregnant. All right, well, this is what happened to me. So just watch out for this. So even there, you're kind of keyed into like be on guard for any type of things happening. We try to, of course, stay informed ourselves. So one of the things that kind of went through our process during a routine trip, my wife's blood pressure was elevated during a doctor visit. And now it wasn't to the point where it was explicitly considered hypertension, but also for doctors, what they consider hypertension and, out of, an abundance of caution, may not necessarily be what it says, in the literature. So you kind of have to come in, being aware and kind of giving up some autonomy of like, okay, the doctor is recommending this, and we want, out of an abundance of caution, to make sure that everybody is safe and healthy. But they basically kept us at this doctor's office after a routine appointment for 4 hours after the initial elevated heart rate and blood pressure. And we're like, okay, if we test this again and it's good, y'all could go home. And they did. And it was good. And we couldn't go home. They were like, no, you need to do another test here. Actually, it's a test on the baby. We need to see practice breathing. Basically, they're looking for like, movement in the nostrils and in the chest. They're looking at, is the blood pumping well? And just other cognitive tests. Is there motion? Within a minute, a certain number of motions, and there's like 8 points. And they were like, okay, so if you get all 8 of these points, and it's even though there's 8 points, it's like, if you miss any of the 8 points, you stand. Lo and behold, we got all the 8 points, and the person that does the test leaves the room. Doctor comes back and is like, yeah, so your blood pressure was good. The tests were good, but y'all still not leaving. And we're like, wait, hold on. So
this is after 4
even
hours?
Though, yes. So and it's a doctor's office. You're always, there's a waiting room. You're always waiting. That was just after they did the test. We waited 4 hours. There was still like an hour or two on top of that. We're just at the doctor. We don't have any stuff.
Doctors' offices are always freezing too.
Yep, exactly. So we had a blanket or whatever. We had made them get like 2 extra blankets. It'd be like that sometimes. But essentially, we got our hopes up to go home. And, even in general, you're at a doctor's appointment. Sometimes they can be stressful. We're experiencing this birth for the first time. There is reason to believe that could cause your heart rate to be elevated. It just kind of is a part of the process. So again, that 4 hours, hopefully it comes down. Even though it did, they decided to keep us there. And then, we're in panic mode at that point. Even though we've had the 9 months to kind of build up and kind of mentally and physically prepare, we still were thinking, oh yeah, it's a couple weeks out. We still have, stuff to schedule. We haven't, necessarily finished all the things that we wanted to do. We had a date. We had a date planned. We were going to go see that movie that we didn't see until a month later. And we had to cancel all that. Thank God we had our bags packed. So once, my wife was able to get to the room where we were expecting to deliver from, I was able to have another family member come stay with her, go get all the stuff that we need for this haul in the hospital, and then come back and just kind of ride things out. But we had multiple experiences through that with Black doctors, white doctors. I expressed some of this even through our goings on of pregnancy with Will, of just like, and to betray a bit of a secret, Will's wife is an OB. So having her on the team of like, oh yeah, we could call and ask questions like, yo, because this is stressful. We don't know what the fuck is going on. This is all brand new. And like I said, every baby is different. Every body is different. Medicine is kind of, an art. Salute to H3 who kind of dropped that gem on me of like, yeah, they're, it's called practice for a reason. They're trying to figure it out. They're listening to cues of the body, but that doesn't necessarily mean, everything is going to respond in an immediate or timely manner that, necessarily works out for our quote unquote schedule. That baby is coming when it's coming. Sure, there are things, we did induce, which, kind of starts that clock of the baby coming, but it is really imperative, particularly as Black people, to one, make yourselves aware, two, to advocate, ask a million questions on any and everything. That's really hard to do because, again, with babies, there's a million different things and every little thing means something different. And, there are all kinds of thresholds and different things that kind of happen that, change your plan. You can come in with a plan, but it is inevitably going to be changing. So being able to be flexible in that moment is also really, really important. Thankfully, we also had a doula during our time of pregnancy, which was able to help us with, just it was like classes or conversations that we got to have of either making the birth plan, having kind of a secondary birth plan just in case. Okay, what, do we want an epidural, or just conversations you don't want to have when you're pregnant and in pain, and it's harder to have those conversations, and you're at least able, in the buildup, even though they're difficult, you can kind of get a chance to wrap your brain around it and be prepared in advance to the extent that you can be prepared. And, again, I want to say salute to the doctors that helped us. Some doctors and nurses were a little less helpful. I'm not going to call anybody out, but some were also really great. There was one nurse, salute to Valencia. I'll give her name because she was awesome. She stayed the night with us. The shift change was happening at 7 a.m. H5 was born at 7:17. That nurse was like, nah, I've been here all night with y'all going through it. I'm staying to make sure this Black baby gets up out of here. And she stayed, and it was a great delivery. And they were in transition with the team. The next team was like poking their heads. It's even there. It's a bit of chaos. We heard other babies being delivered throughout the night. Some folks literally next door that didn't have an epidural were screaming bloody murder. And even that is like, okay, this is adding burden to our experience, even though it's totally different. They made their own choices or whatever, but we can hear them down the hall going crazy. Truly like, horror movie type, screaming, and it's pain, so
Dumb.
I'm not a mother. We as men will never go through that. But if there are any ladies listening to the pod, hey man, just get the epidural. You're not proving anything to anybody. It's a battle with yourself. You still did all the stuff. You did all the stuff. You are still awesome. Like we said up top, salute to the moms. But there's modern medicine, man. We're here for it. We advocate for it. Salute to the epidural doctor who also came in to do the right thing. But even, there are always just kind of minor complications. The mom needs to listen to her body, and advocate for herself of, oh no, I'm in pain. This IV feels like it's in wrong. My hand is swelling up. Things are happening. And we as the fathers have to also be vigilant and advocate. Like if you need to chase a doctor or a nurse down and get somebody up in here to do what it is they need to do at 5 a.m., 3 a.m., 1 p.m., whenever, you got to do that. It's there is no easy mode, it just is what it is. But, overall, we had a great experience. Will, if you wanted to share any of your experience, feel free. But that was some of ours.
Yeah, no, bro. Thank you for sharing that, man. It's playing the game on hard mode, bringing a black baby into this world, man, with all the issues in the medical field, the risks with, Black maternal mortality. So, man, again, I'm just super thankful and glad for, both of our wives that, they were able to do this. And there may have been hiccups, but it all came out well. I'm glad that Amber was able to be a resource to you all during that time. I was definitely, I didn't have any medical expertise to lend, but I was praying and just thinking about y'all a lot. But yeah, man, our experience was a little different. We had a planned C-section from the outset. So yeah, but so we had a planned C-section. So as you were talking about, like hearing like other deliveries through the night while y'all are in labor or whatever, and that, I'm like, oh man, that was probably horrifying. Cause we just kind of, we were able to show up, 6 a.m. I was the dumbest man alive. I got 30 minutes of sleep that night because I'm just up doing stuff. Like, I gotta do this, put this together. Oh, I didn't do that. Just running around, get 30 minutes of sleep.
I think that's what you call nerves.
Yeah. Nerves and stupidity. But anyway, so I'm running off pure adrenaline, 2 cups of coffee, and just nerves, like you said. But it was amazing, man. Like, the actual birth experience was pretty smooth. Where we had maybe, you know, some complications was afterwards, and you know, just echoing all you said about being vigilant, listening to your body, and being an advocate. You know, we were monitoring the mom's, you know, Amber's blood pressure at home after you know, we had the baby. We were home for a couple days, and it was getting back elevated, you know. So we went on back to the hospital, you know, kind of in the middle of the night, had to just decide, hey, we need to go, like it's time. Like we're going back, and you know, we got admitted again. But, you know, thankfully, no major complications. They were able to manage it because the nurse told us, you know, you came in at the exact right time. Like if you had waited any longer, things could have been, you know, different. So yeah, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. But it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. I think Amber would say the same. I don't want to speak for her though.
No, I definitely agree. So in thinking about, you know, we're talking about all this responsibility we have as parents. We talked about some of those uncle responsibilities, Uncle Toon threw out there, you know. I wanted to ask you guys about this, your own experience as, you know, you used to be kids growing up and whatnot. And now, you know, 2 out of the 3 of us have kids, but godfathers. I don't know if this is an antiquated thing. I don't know if people still do this. Some people still do this. It wasn't until I was grown that my dad was like, oh, yeah, nah, you had a godfather. You know, one of my dad's friends from medical school and whatnot. I mean, I kind of knew, but like he wasn't around like that. They moved to DC and some other stuff happened in his life that, you know, was unrelated. I did have a godmother and I didn't know. I just assumed it was my aunt. I still call her my aunt to this day just because, you know, whatever. But anytime I was in town, she also lived out of town. But anytime I would visit her in Miami or visit the city of Miami, she'd be like, nah, you coming to see me? I'm taking you out. And by the way, here's a little hundo. What's good? What you need? You know, and at that point I was grown. This happened when I was a kid, but also like as an adult, like, oh yeah, no, I'm 21 and, you know, hitting the streets. What's up? And she would still show all that love. She's continued to show that love. Of course, now that we have a child, she's even more excited. But wanted to know, you know, did you guys, I don't know if this is a, you know, an experience in, you know, African upbringing, Tunde, if you have any thoughts on that. And then Will, what did you guys do with Willow? Tunde, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't recall having like an official godparent. I mean, I can't speak for other Nigerians, but I don't think it's common. There could be like another concept that was sort of like, or another like label that would be similar, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think like aunties and uncles and friends of your families, of your parents, are automatically aunties and uncles. So, you know, the auntie and uncle culture could be pretty significant for Africans. So I think that probably is in place of an official godparent sort of situation. But what is a godparent exactly?
So essentially, and this is not necessarily an official definition. I think it has changed. That's the thing. I think it used to be much more common of a thing when maternal or just mortality of parents, you know, orphans kind of were more of a thing or more common than it is now. We've entered a stage in society where, you know, you're not necessarily, hopefully, having that type of thing happen. But a godparent would be someone who would kind of take over responsibility if, God forbid, something were to happen to the parents. But often, like you said, it's friends of the family or friends of the parents that, you know, you kind of deem as responsible adults themselves. My godparents, neither of them had kids. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But even then, you know, Taylor has been asked to be a godparent of all kind of kids just because people see her as a responsible adult. And even in that, they pulled me and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to be this child's godfather. You just know us as responsible adults. You must got some other important folks in your life. But, you know, not that you know, has anything to do with it. But I feel like I brought this up because I feel like it may be a thing that's kind of dying out with millennials as we, you know, experience society differently. As, you know, one, grandparents, not the grandparents were ever not so much involved, but we're seeing more, you know, families extended where, you know, depending on when you have the child, the new parents are, you know, a lot more closely associated with the grandparents. You know, the housing in America has kind of shifted to where people are living at home a little bit longer. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I was really curious about y'all's experience just because even in my own, I didn't know my godfather all that well. I was aware of him, but that was about it. So Will, did you have a godfather in your life?
Yeah, mine was kind of the same, like I knew who he was, one of my dad's, good friends or whatever, and his wife, but it wasn't a super close relationship. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so we've talked about it for Willow, but we haven't pulled the trigger, and I guess that's kind of one of those things you have to have in place by that, like they're a year, you or not, maybe not. So we definitely want to get her dedicated and stuff, like at church, christening, but I'm not sure if we want to do godparent.
Let me ask H4 a question that might be a little bit interesting. But I mean, the definition of a godparent is someone who, I just looked it up, is responsible for the religious education of the child. And I guess if you're Catholic, like it's like a much more formal kind of like thing. With that being said, is H5 being raised as Christian? H4?
Well, not really sure. It's more of like he doesn't know anything yet. I think we're going to introduce him to all things, at the same time, let him kind of make his own decisions. So in childcare, in some of the discussion we've had, there are Christian schools around that are also really good. And my wife and I have talked about that. About, okay, these are similarly family oriented and more affordable sometimes than other schools. And it's some expensive Christian schools, boys. Woo! They do a lot. But I think that there are some good values, that are introduced to kids at a young age that got introduced to me. But I think that, like Will had said, making sure that, they're being free thinkers to kind of, make their own decisions on what works best for them, what's comforting for them beyond, just us being parents. How can we make sure that, they are grounded in, the same values? My wife and I technically, I guess, have different religious beliefs, but we share all the same values, which is what makes us, the most compatible as, husband and wife, and now, mother and father. It's going to be a debate always, but I think that's kind of also the beauty of having a child where they get to make their own decisions and decide, like, I value math and science. What happens if he doesn't value math and science? Are we going to feud forever? Or am I going to have to kind of reconfigure my brain to see, okay, how can I best connect with him? What is it that he likes? Maybe there are interests that, my wife has that I have less of. We have similar interests, but, making sure that you're not, I don't want us to be, obviously I want us to be strict. I actually do. I think him growing up thinking, oh no, my parents are strict. They're not playing that. I'm not going to be out here, wilding and running the streets. I think those are positive
Is
values.
That how you felt about your parents? Did you?
I thought my mom was strict,
and strict. They don't play that.
Yeah. And then for my dad, it was like, oh no, I could probably get away with some more stuff. Like we're gonna wild out a little bit, see what happens until, there's still a line. There were two lines. One for mom was like, nah, this house better be clean. You better have taken the chicken out the fridge well before, not when she pulled into the driveway, because it's too late by that point. That happened to me many a times of just like,
hey, man,
damn,
I gotta say, I understand that one a lot better at this age.
Yeah.
If you've ever forgotten as an adult to take the chicken out, it's your whole evening. It's just fucked now.
Oh, yeah.
It's fucked.
Not eating until 9 p.m.
I can see
it's
it.
over.
You coming home after a long day and all this knucklehead had to do was take the chicken out. Yeah, I can see it now. Sorry, Mom. My bad.
Yep.
Yeah, Herschel, man. Yeah, I appreciate your answer, man. I wasn't trying to, coerce you into talking about anything too sensitive, but I know that you are maybe not like fully you're atheist. Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast, so I can understand, there could be some.
And so even then,
tension.
I'll cut you off there because even then it is always about communication in any relationship you're in. And it just becomes that much more communication you have to do for the child. It's already crap that I forgot with the child, like, not necessarily forgetting him anywhere, but like I misplaced the pacifier one time. And yeah, we had like 10 more, but he has a favorite at this time. And it was just a whole thing. I'm just like, damn, I gotta, oh man, how could you? She wasn't yelling at me, but it's also a hormonal thing of like, especially early on, you can't do anything right. It just is gonna be like, oh man, this is not time to like he's upset There's nothing we could do about how upset he's going to be or get. But, we're all running on lack of sleep and frustrated. And I think, not only is it communication there, but throughout, his life and growing up, we're going to have to continue to stay on top of communicating with each other on how all these things play into himself. I, growing up, got to witness my parents, argue about all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I realized, oh, they're arguing about me. Most of the time I didn't. And that's not to say it was a bad thing, but it'd be like, oh man, he forgot to do this and you didn't check up and whatever. So making sure that, they are on the same page as it relates to me, the child. And then, in transition, we are on the same page as it relates to him becomes, super pivotal and critical to his growth, his understanding, even that, unconditional, positive regard, because it's going to be arguments. It's going to be disagreements. We're going to have all types of things where we just don't have the same thoughts or beliefs on how to best approach a thing. And, as a dad, sometimes I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, he'll be fine. He could do this somewhat dangerous thing. And a lot of times I'm going to be wrong. And other times it'll be, nah, he should, there are safer or better ways to do this. And it just is, it's life. It's going through life. It reminds me of times when, I did some stupid stuff and got hurt as a child. And, they're both in parenting mode at that point. But the argument of, oh, man, if we'd have done this, he might not have gotten hurt or whatever. That doesn't do any good except for the next time of, learning and, understanding how kids are going to move and interact and stuff like that.
Well, I'll go ahead and, share a little something of myself that might be a little controversial, but would be the first time on RTBTH, which is, and probably why I'm not a father yet, or part of why I'm not a father is I'm not
game too strong.
Oh God.
Is it the opening doors for women thing?
I'm just hey, don't throw you on the spot. We can talk about that. But don't even try to
let you talk.
I open doors for every single woman at any time that I possibly can. I'm rushing to doors.
Please.
I've changed my thinking on that one. But I don't think that I'll be doing any of the Christianity or anything with my child. And as much as I can, eliminate it is really what I want, and that might be like a hard line, and I think perhaps that kind of complicates the dating game, like especially if you want to take it seriously and you want to potentially talk about getting married and having children. But, I've expressed my feelings on the podcast before, go ahead and check out the Mea Culpa's podcast. I have a lot of respect for religion and Christians and all people who practice, but as I said on
all religions, not just them.
Yeah, all religions for sure, but on the Mea Culpa's podcast, I was just talking about how, like, for me, Christianity was always kind of like, I had like a little bit of aversion to, obviously growing up as Christian, that's the main reason why. But yeah, like I am, pretty much, I mean, honestly, if I can get away with not celebrating Christmas, I'm all for that.
All right. See, you're wilding. That's the thing. When you have a kid, it's really important for them to just like, it's just a celebratory thing. It's just like, more stimuli and, there are other.
It's community.
Yeah. You're building community. Christmas, these holidays are for the kids. That's really what it becomes. You kind of learn that a bit more. Who doesn't love getting stuff?
I'm just an unhinged liberal trying to cancel Christmas.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, you are.
You're the guy who they were talking about on Fox News.
Right. Anyway, so a great podcast. I have one more question for y'all, man. I've been thinking about this one for a little bit, So inevitably, the babies are gonna end up listening to this podcast and they'll be like, what the fuck was wrong with
never
that?
They'll never listen to these. Never. They're already sick of all these baby pictures and the pictures of our parents and stuff. I already realized, like, because my wife and I have taken a lot of different, nice pictures and things, and we're like, oh yeah, we can't wait to show them and stuff. They're gonna be over it. Imagine, because you think about it like, oh man, other people might think that your parent or family, like I assume Tom Brady's kids don't think he's the king. I mean, they think he's pretty cool, but they still like have gripes and are upset and issues with him. Unlike, how the rest of the world thinks about it. They could care less that man has 6 rings or whatever. They want to know what time is lunch.
You don't think H5 is going to go back through the discography of RTBTH?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. Because really? I wouldn't. If my dad
H5 is going to be a real Potter, bro. I think he's going to be a real Potter, man. He's going to eat this up and he's going to take it even further.
That would be dope.
Well, H5 gets a moniker before we wrap up the podcast.
You on his own podcast.
Yes, I'm sure that's exactly what's gonna happen.
He's gonna have one called Sonhood, but H5 will go ahead and Christian him with the moniker the Pod Son of RGBTH.
I like it, the Pod Son.
Yeah, and I guess Pod Daughter might,
Willow could be the Pod Daughter.
Yeah.
You the Pod Daughter.
So one more question, fellas, so maybe H5 and Willow may not listen to this. I don't know. We'll see. But what do you want them to know, man? What is that thing that you want to just, put it out there and you want your children to know now, but they obviously can't understand. But when they can understand, what do you want them to know later too?
I thought about this the other day. So I think we had this conversation today when you were here. You were like, oh yeah, once you have a kid, you're basically just dying until, you just count down to your death.
That's what, I forgot one moniker, the ATL sports expert parodies, ATLP. He told us that. He said that he was like basically just counting down the days until you die. Which doesn't make fatherhood sound too great. I'm sorry.
We're already doing that, man. You're already doing that once you hit 18 is basically.
Was he speaking from experience or?
Yep.
Yeah. He's got kids himself. So, but yeah, I mean, that was an extreme take. I disagree with that take first off. But basically, I start that off because, I grew up, I had a lot of dreams, like literal dreams of, at night I'm sleeping and like wild shit is happening, all kinds of stuff. And, figurative dreams of, okay, I have goals. I want to do stuff when I grow up. And, even to this day, I'm dreaming about, wanting to elevate. And my dreams now, my figurative dreams now involve my son just growing up and doing and being the best that he could be and all kinds of stuff. But I also have dreams at night that are nonsensical and all kinds of stuff. But I think that those things are coordinated. And I would love to instill in my son, like, hey, man, never stop dreaming. So, whether it's while you're sleeping and, I'm watching him like moving and, oh, yeah, what are you thinking in there? What's going on? What's happening? The good dreams, the bad dreams, whatever. But then also, even, now that I have a son, it doesn't mean that, the goals and things that I have stop. I've seen my dad, both my parents, continue to achieve and do dope things. I don't think, like Parodies was saying, that your life stops and you just start counting down to death. Once you have a child.
I think he had a little bit of a cynical take. I'm sure he's basking in the joy of parenthood as you are.
Yes. But never stop dreaming, son.
Man, that's deep, man. So you're saying that your dreams and your sleep are interrelated with your like intellectual aspirational dreams? Is that what you're telling us?
Well, they don't have anything to do with each other in that like they're about different things of, just the randomness. Sometimes there'll be, oh yeah, before our wedding or even after, sometimes I have weird dreams about that or like, oh yeah, we're going on a cruise. Oh, okay. Well, this is a weird, like, even as a kid, you'd have like school dreams or like, oh man, I missed the bus or some shit like, oh, I forgot to do my homework, whatever. But I think the cognitive aspect of like, oh, I'm having these dreams. My brain is doing, the gymnastics of, going through experiences, whatever's happening during REM sleep. And I'm definitely having them less now that I'm sleeping less as a parent. But, the other day I had me another dream and it was weird and stupid and, nothing happened. It was just craziness, but I like to reminisce on them and think, in the morning, even for a little while. I don't know if I want him to, or me or him to have a dream journal. Maybe that could be a cool thing. But like, I'll tell my wife my dreams and they don't ever often make any sense. I'm not saying that they're connected to anything, but I think that cognitive exercise is great. And that's what I want to instill. And that's what I think aligns with you having, real life dreams and goals and aspirations. That's what I think. Is positive and hope that he can embody.
Yo.
That's really dope, Hirsch.
You heard it here first for the first time, Herschel the Fifth. Never stop dreaming.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you in a minute, son, but you're not going to remember till you listen to this podcast. But
yeah, man. On my end, I think that what I would like Willow to know or to grasp, I guess, about life or anything is just as she, gives us some background feedback, is just
get it right, Dad.
To do your best. That's
what she's saying.
And you don't have to have it figured out. Like so many stages in my life, I was always thinking about, oh, well, I have to do this because this is next and this. And that plan always changed. And however, I've ended up exactly where I feel like I need to be, you know? So like, I think, yeah, I think that
She agrees.
she agrees, or maybe she disagrees strongly. I'll hear in a few years, I'm sure. But yeah, I just want her to know, you know, do your best at the stage you're at. You don't have to have the whole thing figured out, because as long as you're getting something out of the present that you're in life, the future's gonna fall into place. You know, that's really what I would give to her right now.
All right, well, that is a great word just for anyone to hear. But yeah, man, that's beautiful, wonderful, man.
So without further ado, I think that wraps up our, at least the very first Fatherhood pod. Appreciate you, Will, for joining. Appreciate you, Willow, for joining. Special guest H5. He's out now, but
thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, maybe after Willow gets in a couple NBA games under her belt, watching alongside Father, you know, we can have all of us back on the podcast, because there's some heat in the NBA. Matter of fact, go ahead and lock it in. Let's make it happen soon. Otherwise, yeah, great podcast, Podfathers.
All right.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. We're gonna go play now, because somebody has been very active during this whole recording. So thanks for y'all's patience. But yeah, man, I just want to congratulate Hirsch and Taylor again. You know, the Podfather over here and the Pod Mother, raising the Pod Son. Best of luck, man. Happy to be doing this.
Big podcast energy in that household.
We couldn't do it without Uncle Toon, you know, bringing in his perspective.
Hey, look,
I don't know about that nap time take. You have to workshop that a little bit, but I'm listening.
Hey, look, I am the voice of the babies. PlayStations, no nap time, and lots of turtle stuff.
All right. We're going to work on those things. You heard it here first. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Hashtag RTPCH. Real talk beyond the headlines. We out. We out.
Okay, give me a second to breathe.